Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. Welcome to day 7 of Bookmas. We're at day 7, we are over halfway, which is kind of crazy. It's time to start getting into the rankings. It's time to start talking about the actual books that I read and talking about the year that was 2024's reads. I read a lot of books, like I read like 300 and something books, I can't even remember. And there's always some disappointing and there's always some surprising reads. Do we start with the disappointing or do we start with surprising? Let's start with the bad and then with the good. That's the vibe I'm gonna go for. Some of these may be some shocks to you, maybe not, I don't know. But let's get through it. So we're gonna start with Offside by Avery Keelan. I did finish this one. I did give it a 1 star. I literally remember nothing. This is a hockey romance. It is overly way too long. I expected so much more. I expected some sort of groundbreaking hockey romance and I was like bored. This author loves a waffle and I'm exhausted. I should have DNF'd it, unfortunately. Next is a book talk favorite, but for me was a major letdown. Unravel Me by Becca Mack. Again, another author that loves to goddamn waffle. Like, what is going on? Are we not editing? Are we just like trying to, do we have like word like goals that we need to hit like in a high school essay? What is going on? Why are we writing so many pages for a fucking goddamn hockey romance? Like, why are we doing this? Genuinely, it gets me so fired up. It drives me up the freaking wall. This is ridiculous. It is like, I don't know, 600 something pages. I think at least 150 pages could have been cut out. And this book would have packed the punch that we needed. I didn't get anything from it. I think I gave like a 2 or 2.5 stars. There were some really sweet, funny moments and like I enjoyed their relationship and I enjoyed like the child and all that, but there was so much more that was wrong with it. I think my grievance mainly sits with the publishers for not cutting this down once it was picked up to traditional publishers. Like, it's just literally not going through a strong enough editing process, and potentially maybe the author does not want to cut back on the words and thinks it'll be a detriment to the story, but I think it wouldn't. But aside from the length of waffle there was in this book, there were some other points that really frustrated me and made it a disappointing read, e.g. the fact that this man had a 10-inch penis. Why? That is not even remotely realistic. 8 would have been plenty. 8 would have been plenty. 10 inches? Are you alright? Like, I know he's a big man, but 10 inches? I don't want to read about 10 inches. That hurts. No, thank you. I think Rosie really frustrated me because she kept trying with her baby daddy, even though that baby daddy consistently let her down and didn't do a good job. At some point you gotta go, bestie, it's done. We're done. We're not gonna bother anymore. And then my last 2 points sort of sit with a lot of the books in this series and why I'm skeptical to pick up book 4. All the characters are extremely immature for their ages. They are like late 20s, early 30s. Like, let's grow up a little bit. But the other part of it is the drama is always other woman drama. Can we not think of something different? This is getting really stale for me, and I think this year I've really determined that I want fresher, better takes on romance. I don't know whether it's the sports romance genre that's really bothering me. I haven't read a lot of sports romance this year, and I haven't read a lot of good sports romance this year. There's been a lot of duds. So if you have really good sports romance recs that you think I would enjoy, I'd love to hear them. But yeah, I'm struggling. On to another sports romance letdown. Again, hockey romances are just letting me down. I'm going to talk about the Lucky Hit series by Hannah Common. This was like the first series, like the first books that I read in the year, and they were not great. Insta-lovey, silly little drama. I don't know. I don't remember a lot about them. It was just juvenile. These guys were in college, so I gave them a pass. I didn't hate it by any means, but I was just expecting more. And again, the drama was very stupid, and I also don't love it when, particularly in the first book, the drama involves parents. Not a favorite for me. I think it's like, we don't need to talk about the parents. Like, we can find other drama. Next is The Silent Patient. I think I gave it like a 3 star. It was okay, but the twist didn't blow me away. I don't really know how to say anything else. It just didn't blow me away. I was like, okay, well, that was very obvious. Maybe I've read too much thriller at this point. Is The Reason I Married by MQ by Megan Quinn. I read this very early on in the year, so again, I don't remember all of the details of why I didn't like it. I still gave it 2.5 stars. I think it was purely just down to length. I think it really struggled to keep my attention. I just was not invested in their relationship, so it just felt lackluster. Then we have 11:11 by Macaulay Smeltzer. Again, what was this? This is, she's older, he's younger. she goes on a date with his dad and then ends up with him, and I was like, not invested in their relationship at all. I didn't feel any level of chemistry. It did nothing for me. I couldn't tell you a single thing about it. I wrote a review for it and nothing comes to mind of what I wrote. Then we have two hockey romances. Again, the hockey romances are just not hitting this year. I'm gonna talk about them simultaneously because they are like a light disappointment. They still got like 3.5 stars, but Wicked Served by Grace Riley and So This Is War by Megan Quinn. It was just not giving what I thought it was gonna give. With Wicked Serve, it felt like drama revolved around her brother. A lot of the relationship developed off page, so I didn't really feel invested into their relationship. And then with So This Is War, very juvenile pranks. I just was not blown away. Again, very long for sort of no reason. After reading He's Not My Type, I expected this to be a bit more than what it was. I expected it to give more, but it didn't. He's Not My Type is quite a long book, but it felt like the pages were used wisely and there was a lot of depth, whereas this was just like lacking depth. All I can remember is bologna sandwiches. But let's talk about my surprising reads because there is a few of them and I'm actually like pleasantly surprised by a lot of them. So the first one I want to start with was A Love Letter to Whiskey by Candy Steiner. This is a cheating romance basically the whole time. Like they cheat on multiple different partners together over like a long span of time. Really enjoyed it. I was obsessed. I was hooked. I thought it was really well done and very realistic. Maybe not realistic. It didn't feel cringy. It didn't feel icky. I quite enjoyed it. It's probably not for everyone because it is a cheating romance, but I recommend giving it a shot. I thought it was very well done and very emotional, but I liked it. I didn't think that I would, but I loved it. I truly loved it. Then we have Again by J.L. Seegers. Now this is my first J.L. Seegers book and it's one of the first books that I read in 2024. It's like a little short novella. For such a short novella, that book packed a punch. I was hooked from start to finish and I was like, this woman is going to be my favorite author of all time, and I loved it so much. It is a marriage, a reconciliation. They both go away to Mexico for this wedding and it's them like reuniting in the best way. The spice delivered, the plot delivered. I could like reread this over and over again, and I probably will very soon. Then we have Wedding Issues by Elle Evans. This is a debut author. It's giving like Legally Blonde meets Southern Charm meets like The Devil Wears Prada. It was insane. I loved it. I thought it was very well done for a debut novel. Now from saying she's like just finished law school and she wants a sex specific job, and then she's trying to help her best friend get into like the wedding mag of the season, and then her wicked evil auntie finds out that she's doing that for her friends and says, no, you need to do it for my daughter, otherwise I'll like withhold. Can't remember whether it was a job or her trust, but it was something along those lines, and I really enjoyed it. It wasn't very spicy. It was closed door, and like the romance follows her best friend's brother. I thought it was good. The romance definitely took a backseat. It was not the major like plot point, but it was very much more women's fiction-y, but I thought it was a great addition for it was a different concept, and as a debut author I think she just nailed what I like in romance books and what I like in books in general. So I was pleasantly surprised and had a really good time with it. The 7 Year Slip by Ashley Poston. This is my first Ashley Poston, my only Ashley Poston. This is a magical realism and I didn't expect a magical realism to hit me in the feels so hard. So we are following Clementine, who inherits a magical moving apartment from her auntie, and this apartment like goes back 7 years in the past, and one day she walks in and there's a guy there and she's like, what the hell are you doing here? And it's like the romance of them, her trying to find him in the present after meeting him in the past and trying to like catch up with him without ruining it. It was so great. I thought it was beautifully written and such an interesting concept, and it was so deep, and it had this like beautiful story of grief and healing from grief and like what's important in life. And I loved her writing style. I loved Clementine as a character. It was also like a story of like self-discovery, reinventing yourself. It's a book that again I would probably reread a few times and probably never get sick of it, but 7 Year Slip by Ashley Poston. There's a reason it's a favorite for a lot of people. Then we have The Winter Garden by Kristen Hanna. This was my first Kristen Hanna book. Never read her before, and I didn't know what to expect. The start didn't really grab my attention super quickly, but I was like, all right, hold on, like let's see, it might go somewhere. And by the end I was like blown away by the story. This tells the story of these two sisters whose, I think their dad died or their mum is dying. I can't remember if their dad died or not, but their mum is like not all there. She's always been a bit loosey-goosey, and we're hearing like the mum's story and like unraveling like what happened to her in Russia, I believe. And I was like, by the end I was like, this is a really interesting story. I was like obsessed with it, and I think it was more a story of sisterhood again than anything else. I thought it was really beautiful. I was very intrigued by her writing, and it's something that I would go back to her books again, and I will be in 2025. Somewhere I First Saw You by Elizabeth O'Rourke. I never expected to feel so seen by an Elizabeth O'Rourke book after reading 3 back-to-back duds by her at the start of the year. The last 2 that she released this year blew me away and I loved, but this one especially, like, I felt so connected to the FMC. It was amazing. So she runs away, not runs away, but she's like had enough with her mum and her stepdad and was like, I can't deal with them anymore. I dropped out of school, I am angry, and she's got all these feelings. So she moves in with her uncle's best friend, who's older than her and is a billionaire. She forces him to let her stay with him for the summer, and you can see how that goes. But there's also like a very deep plot, and there's a lot that gets healed between her and her mum's relationship as well. I felt so connected to the main character, it was beyond a joke. So I highly recommend checking that out, even if you don't always love like her books, because they can be a little bit, I don't know what the word is, but The Summer I First Saw You was so special. The last book I want to talk about is The Blue Bistro by Elin Hilderbrand. This is my first Elin Hilderbrand book. It's one of her early releases. It's a book set in Nantucket. It's about this restaurant. This girl is like coming to this town, fresh start, and it's like, I'm gonna work as a waitress, even though I've never worked as a waitress before in my life. So it's her story and like her self-discovery story, and I loved like the setting. Story felt so rich and vivid, and I was so blown away by Elin Hilderbrand's writing style. I couldn't even begin to explain to you why I loved it so much, but I just thought it was great. I think I gave it a 4.5 star in the end, but easily like a top fave Elin Hilderbrand, and I don't know why, because I don't think it's a lot of people's, but I am going to be delving into some more of her newer releases this year, because I've pretty much caught up until like the most popular ones now. So I've read like a few of her early stuff, but now I'm at the meat and potatoes of her backlog, so I'm excited. That's the end of my disappointing and surprising reads, which I really was all over the place, because like I said, I've read a lot of books and trying to remember all of the details is hard, which is probably really bad. I probably should have written a script, but it is what it is. I forget, and I'm time poor. But that's all for today's video. I'll see you guys tomorrow for day 8. And make sure you like and subscribe. Comment below what your most disappointing and your most surprising read was of 2024. I'd love to know. But that's all, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye guys.